Good afternoon, everybody. I am Sudhan Sharma. Today we will be talking about the computer graphics concepts, and the concept which we will be discussing today is transformations. Actually, nowadays it is playing a leading role in media and every concerned aspect so as to communicate, because it expresses well, because everybody knows that a picture communicates a message which is equivalent to thousands of words. So how a picture communicates a message? So in communicating a well-versed message, transformation plays a very vital role. So what do we mean by transformation? What are different type of transformation, and what is actual meaning of graphics is to be discussed today. Graphics is composition of two words, actually, graph and tricks, the graphical tricks. The graphic part is dealing with the coordinate system. We will be talking about the type of coordinate systems and how different coordinate system are intertransformable, and how different transformation can be implemented in different coordinate system in order to communicate a well-versed message. So this is the topic today. So at the same time, I would like to mention that this topic is frequently asked in your assignments and your question papers, and will definitely help you in order to solve the questions and the practical problems available. Secondly, the motto of this lecture is to make you understand while you are using any application. By using these concepts, you can design an application. It will make you to understand what is happening at the background, and it will help you definitely to develop your programs. So let's go to the actual part. Let's come to the board. So what I had communicated that we will be talking about graphics, and it is a composition of graph, in fact graphical and tricks. Now, trick section is composed of many elements, but today we will be talking about only transformations. And the graphical part is actually talking about various type of graphs, and the graphs are actually dominated by the coordinate systems. In your block number 2, you had got an idea that there are two types of coordinate systems: Cartesian coordinate systems and your polar coordinate systems. It is not to be worried that whether if we are working in a Cartesian coordinate system, can we transform it into the polar coordinate system? Yes, these two coordinate systems are intertransformable. Now at the same time, the Cartesian system is to be studied in two sections. One is the Euclidean coordinate system, and other is homogeneous coordinate system. At the same time, in the lecture we will be talking about the transformations, and they are classified into different categories. Likewise, the translational transformation is there, your rotational transformation is there, scaling is there, reflection is there, and we will be talking about some of the strategies that how to attempt the problems in your examinations. So in order to understand what I said, that what is graph, what is a coordinate system, let's take a look. Say this is a XY system, and I am drawing a circle. It is not communicating any message. Say I further draw two more circles and a semicircle. Independently, they are not conveying any message. But when I translate them to their respective suitable position, then they are communicating some message. That means by displacing these, this is a circle, this is a graph, this is a graph, this is a graph, and these all are different type of graphs, and when they are coordinated all together in a format, they are communicating a well-versed message. And this is the purpose of graphics, that how to communicate a message in a pictorial way. Now the thing is, in order to communicate a message, because all these points or every graph is composed of a points, and the points are having some address, and the addressing mechanism of a point is nothing but a coordinate system. So what do we mean by a Cartesian coordinate system? Let's understand this. Say this is a point. I say this is x1 units. This point is x1, y1. So what does it mean? It means that if I move from origin x1 units in x direction, then and y1 units in y direction, then definitely I will reach to this point. So this format is a two-dimensional Cartesian address of this point A. Now, second thing is that there is another way also to reach to this point. If I say radially I trace a circle, say this is a circle, and I move a distance r at an angle theta, then automatically after moving distance r at an angle theta, I am again reaching to point A. That means r theta is also one of the mechanisms to reach point A, and x1 y1 is also one of the mechanisms to reach point A. And these two are in fact the different ways to represent the address of point A. The address represented in x1 y1 format is nothing but your Cartesian coordinate system, and the r theta component is nothing but a polar coordinate system. Now second question which arises in the mind, that are these two coordinates intertransformable? Yes, these two coordinate systems are intertransformable. How they are intertransformable? That is to be understood. In order to understand that, let's consider one more diagram. Say this is a point, say x1, y1, and again r is the distance. Now we all know by Pythagoras theorem that if there is a right angle triangle with hypotenuse h, base b and perpendicular p, such that theta is the angle corresponding to perpendicular p, then respective entities, trigonometrical entities, sin theta, cos theta and tan theta can be written in terms of perpendicular, base and hypotenuse. How? Perpendicular upon hypotenuse is sin theta, base upon hypotenuse is cos theta, and perpendicular upon base is tan theta. Now you might be thinking that what is the relevance of this topic with this topic? The relevance is that this distance is y1 and this distance is x1. So this all is a right angle triangle where hypotenuse is replaced by r, p is replaced by y1 and b is replaced by x1. So if somebody wants to know what is y1, then simply by using this entity, that is sin theta is equal to y1 upon r, one can find the address that y1 is equal to r sin theta. Similarly, by using this another concept, that means cos theta is equal to x1 upon r, one can find that x1 is equal to r cos theta. This says that point x1, y1 can be represented in the terms of r cos theta and r sin theta. Hence, this address of point A, which is x1, y1, can be represented as x is equal to r cos theta and y is equal to r sin theta. This shows that these two coordinate systems, that is the Cartesian coordinate system and the polar coordinate system, are intertransformable. Now the second question arises that what do we mean by the Euclidean coordinate system and the homogeneous coordinate system. In order to understand that, please let's apply this concept of coordinate system into a transformation. So in order to understand this, what is Euclidean coordinate system, let's understand first what do we mean by translational transformation. Translation means change in position. What do we mean by change in position? Say this is a point x, this is the address xy in a two-dimensional system. If we are changing the position across x-axis, it is nothing but x plus delta x and y. If we are changing the position across y position in the y direction, it is x y plus delta y. At the same time, if we change the position in a generalized format, it will be x plus delta x and y plus delta y. That means transforming in such a way that the position of the point xy is changed from xy to x plus delta x, y plus delta y is a translational transformation. And this is generally required when we want that our graphic object, whatever graph we are, at the moment we are talking about a point, and any graphic object is composed of several points, and the transformation can be applied to the entire graphic object. That might be a circle, that might be a sphere, that might be any entity of which your graphical component is composed. So the activity, so the transformation is to be represented in the terms of x plus delta x and y plus delta y. This is translational transformation. Now here the role of matrices arise. Why the matrices role arise here is because in computer science we are having three phases. One is a real world, other is a computer world, and in between the real world and the computer world we are having a mathematical world. Any real world problem which can be mathematized, which can be written in the form of algorithm, which can have a specific set of sequences, can only be programmed. So in order to transform a real world problem into a computerized world problem, we are supposed to use the concept of, say, the matrices. Why? In order to understand that, say this is a point. Say it is A. Its projection on x-axis is, say, B. Its projection on y-axis is, say, C, and this is my origin. Now matrices have some properties. They are actually the mathematical component which are representing the dimensions, the real world. It is a two-dimensional system, so the matrix will have two rows and two columns. Every row and every column will be dedicated to one coordinate system. It is a two-coordinate system, two-dimensional system, x and y. So one row and each row will be for x and y, and similarly x and y. Now the intersection of this point, that means x and x, is in fact a point which is lying on x-axis. That means this is to be point B. This is a point which is lying on y-axis, so the same should be done here, C. Now this is lying in xy plane, so xy plane points are represented like this, A and A. That means a physical world, the coordinates and their respective projection. This is a real world, this is the mathematical world, and this mathematical world can be programmed in a computer world with the help of arrays. With the help of arrays of linked lists, and different structures are available. So by using the concept of arrays, you can transform a real world problem into mathematical world problem into a computer world problem. So how we use this concept of matrices in our translational transformation? Let's see how. So this is x, y, 1, 0, 0, 1 plus delta x, delta y, 1, 0, 0, 1. So that means after matrix multiplication, this into this plus this into this is x into 1 plus y into 0, comma, this into this, x into 0 plus y into 1, x into 0 plus y into 1 plus delta x into 1 plus y delta y into 0 comma delta x into 0 plus delta y into 1. So the end result will be xy plus delta x delta y. And this is the problem with the Euclidean system. In the Euclidean system, in order to simply translate, we are supposed to do two matrix multiplication. So the space and time complexity of the program will increase, because same concept of matrix multiplication is to apply two times. So the solution of this problem was given, and the solution was nothing but a homogeneous coordinate system. What homogeneous coordinate system says that instead of, in a two-dimensional system, instead of having only x and y component, we should also have a component of homogeneity. What is a component of homogeneity and how it resolves the problem of two matrix multiplication is to be understood. Let's see how. So a dimension, if one more factor of homogeneity is included. What is the role of this homogeneity is? In general, people say that this could be taken as 1. No, this is not fixed, that this factor of homogeneity need not be 1. Why it is taken as 1 and why it should be 1, that is a prime issue. That if you want to visualize a situation such that you want to give a situation in order to project a horizon, say the things are going to infinity, a road is endless. That means within a two dimension, in a computer screen, if you want to draft a screensaver such that road is endless, or you want to give the flavor of horizon, that means infinity. How will you give the flavor of infinity? The flavor of infinity can be given by the use of this homogeneity factor. How this homogeneity factor plays an important role? Say xy is a Euclidean system address of a point A. In a homogeneous system, it should be written as x, y, and one more factor of homogeneity is to be introduced. Now, this factor of homogeneity can be, for the sake of simplicity, is to be transformed to 1. So, in order to transform it to 1, we divide the entire address by h. So we will be having x by h, y by h, and h by h. This resolves the problem that we are having the homogeneity component as 1, but now the new addresses, that is x by h and y by h, are new values, so that x dash, y dash, and 1. So that means we are creating a new point, we are finding a new point by the use of the factor of homogeneity. This is again time consuming. So in order to resolve this, we may take h is equal to 1. Hence the value x, y, h can be rewritten as x by h, y by h, h by h, and if h is equal to 1, then we can have x, y, and 1, not x dash, y dash, 1. At the same time, when the factor of homogeneity h is equal to 0, then we can have x by 0, y by 0, and h by 0 by 0, and you can define in your program, you say this undefined entity as 1. So this will give you a flavor infinity, infinity, and 1, and by using this concept you can give the flavor of horizon or endless road in your graphic scene. So in Euclidean system, the transformation xy to x plus delta x, y plus delta y was written as xy 1 0 0 1 delta x delta y 1 0 0 1. Then how can we write it using the homogeneous coordinate system? The problem of 2 times multiplication will be resolved here. How? X, Y, 1 will now can be written as X plus delta X, Y plus delta Y and 1. Now we can write that X, Y, 1 and 1, 0 delta X, 0, 1 delta Y, 0, 0, 1. Solving this again, this into this plus this into this plus this into this will give me the value X plus delta X. This into this plus this into this plus this into this will give me the value Y plus delta Y and 1. So that means by incorporating only one more dimension, we had resolved the problem of multiplying the same matrix 2 times, and matrix multiplication is an expensive task. So a lot of expense is controlled over here by multiplying this matrix only 1 time. So this is all about the translational transformation in a 2-dimensional environment. In a 2-dimensional environment, we will also see how it will work in a 3-dimensional environment. In a 3-dimensional environment, same will look like this: X, Y, Z will be transformed to X plus delta X, Y plus delta Y, Z plus delta Z, and this could be written as X, Y, Z, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0 plus the X delta Y delta Z, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1. After multiplying, you will definitely find that by using the matrix multiplication. So how to write a program? The concept is mathematically we are doing this. Then how to write a program? You are supposed to, the basic programs which are to be written in computer graphics extensively involve the concept of matrix multiplication, because in order to translate, in order to rotate, in order to produce reflection and all that stuff, the key role which is played is by the matrix multiplication. So once you have written a matrix multiplication simply by applying a row major matrix with a 2-dimensional matrix of respective type of transformation, you can produce the respective transformation, which could be composition of translation, scaling, translation, rotation, all three, or translation, scaling, reflection and all that stuff. So we will discuss how, and in this 3-dimensional Euclidean system, this will be the status of your translational transformation. At the same time, how the same will look when we go for homogeneous system is X, Y, Z, 1 should be transformed to X plus delta X, Y plus delta Y, Z plus delta Z, 1. So that means now still the concept of 2 times matrix multiplication persists in 3-dimensional system also, and the concept of this homogeneity factor, which is 1, will resolve the 2 times multiplication problem. Therefore, the net result will look like this: 1, 0, 0 delta X, 0, 1, 0 delta Y, 0, 0, 1 delta Z, and 0, 0, 0, 1. So let's do the matrix multiplication. This into this plus this into this plus this into this plus this into this. So the value will be X plus delta X. This into this plus this into this plus this into this plus this into this, Y plus delta Y. This into this, this into this, this into this, and will give you Z plus delta Z, and similarly 1. So this finishes the concept of translational transformation in 2-dimension and 3-dimension. We will apply these concepts to a problem after a short interval of time, but before that we are supposed to do the concept of scaling and rotation. So what do we mean by scaling? Scaling is another type of transformation. say you want to stretch, आपको किसी चीज को if you want to stretch a object to double its size, or you want to shrink an object to half of its size, then how will you do it? By applying the mathematics to the same object. And this transformation, such that the entire size of the object can be altered, this transformation is nothing but scaling. And it is categorized into two. One is stretching and other is compression. Now you can understand this xy for a two-dimensional system. Xy, you want to increase the size or you want to decrease the size. That means the entity should be multiplicative. As in the case of transformation, as in the case of translation transformation, the entity was additive. We were doing xy and x plus delta x, y plus delta y in the case of translational transformation, because the entity was additive. Now here we want to increase the size. That means the x component and y component should increase by amount a or b. That means the entity is multiplicative, as a result of which the transformation will be ax into by. So how can we write the same in the terms of matrices? The same can be written as x, y, a0, 0, b. That means by these are the factors. These are the scaling factors. And on the basis of these scaling factors, different type of scalings are produced, that is the stretching and the compression. What are those different type of scaling factors? If A and B are greater than 1, if greater than 1, then say the original size is xy, then the new coordinate will be say 1.5 times of x or 1.5 times of y, because 1.5 is greater than x, so it will make an object to stretch, it will make it to enlarge. At the same time, then the values of A and B are greater than 0 but less than 1. That means when the values are fractional, then at that very instance of time the thing will compress. Say I transform xy into 0.5x and 0.5y. So the size will decrease and this transformation will shrink the object, and that's why when the scaling factors are greater than 0 but less than 1, then the technique is compression scaling. At the same time, we can produce the concept of reflection also, or by applying, by altering the same concept of scaling factors. How the scaling factors are altered to give you the flavor of reflection? Let's see. If A and B, which are your scaling factors, are less than 0, then what happens? That the size of the sign of x component and y component will be altered. Let's see how. Say this is a point x, y, and if I change the sign after reflection transformation, say the point is ax, by, where a and b are the scaling factors, are the factors such that they are less than 0. Say a and b are equal to 1, minus 1. Then what happens? X will transform to minus x and y will transform to minus y, and minus x minus y, x will transform to minus x and y will transform to minus y. So this will be generalized reflection. So this will be this. If you say that, say a is less than 0 and b is not less than 0, that means by using different combination of a and b, such that either one of them is less than 0 or both of them are less than 0, you can produce different flavors of reflection across x-axis, across y-axis. What I want to say that this is a point, say xy, this is the point x minus y. That means a component is not less than 0, but b component is less than 0. If I have a reflection across x-axis, across y-axis, the point will be minus x, y. That means the a component is less than 0, but b component is not less than 0. And when a generalized reflection is to be taken, then minus x minus y, that means both a and b are less than 0. That means by applying again this transformation, you can produce the flavor of both scaling as well as reflection depending upon the scaling factors. Now let's apply the concept studied in order to solve a numerical problem. So I am drafting a problem in order to make you apply the concept studied practically. Say this is a two-dimensional system and we are having a 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 20, 30, 40, 50. So what are respective points? Say I want to scale up the polygons. Say I want to scale up the polygon A, B, C, D to twice its size with respect to the centroid. Scale up the polygon A, B, C, D to twice its size with respect to the centroid. So what are the, in order to find the centroid, you should know the coordinates. So what is the coordinate of A? It is 10, 30, it is 30, 10. What is this? This is 60, 10. What is this? This is 50, 50. And this coordinate should be 20 and this is the 20, 50. So centroid is the average of all diagonals. So what should be the coordinates of centroid? Is equal to sum of x components plus sum of y components. That means sum of x component upon number of coordinates upon number of coordinates. So what should be the centroid coordinate? It will be, this point will be 20 plus 50 plus 60 plus 30. 60 plus 30 is 90. 90 plus 50 is 140 plus 20 is 160. That means 160 upon 4, and y component 50 plus 50 100 plus 10 110 120. 120 upon 4, that means it is 40 30. So this point should be 40 30. Yes, it is 40 30. Now we want to scale up the polygon to twice its size with respect to this centroid. So firstly, the sequence of transformation should be first translate centroid, translate your centroid, say x to O, origin. Second is scale up the polygon Third is inverse of step 1. Why I am doing translation of this centroid at the origin? Because this is worldly coordinate and this is object coordinate, and what is required is to scale up the polygon to twice its size with respect to the centroid of the polygon. So in place of transforming the origin, we can do it other way around also, that translate the origin to the centroid, then scale up, and then but at that for this what happens that all the coordinates, because this 30-10, 60-10, 50-50, they are with reference to this origin. So when we translate this, all the coordinates are supposed to change. So the better strategy is that we should find the centroid of this object and we should translate the centroid to the origin and not origin to the centroid. So the first part application will occur in this way. We are supposed to translate first 40-30 to the origin, that is 0, 0. So what should be the transformation? If I subtract 40 from 40 and if I subtract 30 from 30, then only I can reach to origin. That means x, y. That means this is my delta x and this is my delta y. And the translation transformation says x plus delta x, y plus delta y. So that means x minus 40 comma y minus 30. So at the same time, in the homogeneous coordinate system, this could be written like this. X, y, 1, 1, 0, minus 40, 0, 1, minus 30, 0, 0, 1. And this is nothing but my translation matrix. Say T1. Now second concept, this solves step 1. Now second is to scale up the polygon to twice its size. That means the transformation xy to ax by is to be applied. In homogeneous it is xy1 and by1, where a and b are the scaling factors, and in order to scale up the polygon to twice its size, that means a and b should be 2. As a result of this, the concept will give you the idea that xy1 should be, now I am trying step 2, should be ax, by and 1, where a and b are the scaling factors and which are nothing but your 2. Value 2, because we are supposed to scale up the polygon to twice its size. So how the thing will resolve in the matrix form is nothing but x, y, 1, a, 0, 1, 0, b, 1, this into this plus this into this plus this into this, 0, 0, 0, 1. So after matrix multiplication you will find that this into this, that is ax, this into this plus this into this plus this into this, by, this into this plus this into this plus this into this, that is 1. So in order to scale up, factor a and factor b should be 2, and this is my scaling matrix, say S1. So two steps are resolved. I had got the translational matrix T1, I had got the scaling matrix S1. Now inverse of step 1 is to be performed. That means after shifting, we are at the first step we are shifting the centroid to the origin. That means this is T1. When the polygon is shifted here, the scene will somewhat look like this. When I scale up the polygon to twice its size, that means I apply the step number 2, the polygon will grow in size, and when it grows in size, after that I am trying to make it to move back. So when it goes back, the grown up size of this polygon will be here. So the new coordinates will be A dash, C dash, this is A dash, C dash, D dash and B dash. So the inverse translation, that is T1 inverse, is to be performed. How we will perform T1 inverse? In the first part what we did, that we make 40 30 to go to 0 0. So in T1 the transformation was 40 30 to 0 0. So T1 inverse should be 0 0 to 40 30. That means the delta x and delta y component should be additive in nature and they should not be subtractive in nature, as a result of which the third matrix, that is the T1 inverse matrix, will be we got T1 matrix, which is 1 0 minus 40 0 1 minus 30 0 0 1. We got scale up matrix, which is 2 0 0 0 2 0 0 0 1. So T1 inverse should be 1 0 40 inverse. So this entity should be revert 0 1 30 0 0 1. Now we had performed all three steps in order to scale up the polygon ABCD to twice its size. So the entire result will be available when we multiply these translation, scaling and inverse translation matrix all together and apply the result of matrix multiplication to the entire coordinate systems, and in fact the coordinate of point A, B, C and D. How will I apply this? Let's see. Coordinates of point A, coordinates of point B, coordinates of point C and D. So whatever they were, say 50, 50 and 1, homogeneity factor, this is homogeneity factor, this is homogeneity, 40, this was 30, 50, 1 and whatever they were, say 20, 21, 60, 41, whatever they were. Multiply this with T1, then multiply with S1 and multiply with T1 inverse. The result will be a new matrix where the scale up components will be there, A1 dash, B1 dash, C dash and D dash. So these coordinates will be in fact the scale up, the coordinates of the scale up polygon, the polygon which is twice the size of A, B, C, D. Now our last component which is remaining in this lecture is about the rotational transformation. We had already undergone the concept of transformations, about the translation transformation in 2 dimension, 3 dimension. We had also studied the scaling transformation and the scaling and the reflection transformation 2 dimension, 3 dimension. At the same time we had applied the concept studied in order to solve a numerical problem. I hope this lecture will definitely help you out in order to solve your assignment, in order to solve your question paper problems. At the same time will also help you to work out with the problem of MCSL 54 component, because lot more transformation problems are to be solved there. The basic component which is to be created by you is simply a matrix multiplication. Once you are through with the matrix multiplication program, you simply apply this logic. Entirely what I am doing is matrix multiplication and again matrix multiplication and again matrix multiplication, and I am getting an answer. So the core component is nothing but a matrix multiplication and will definitely help you out to work out with the practical problems also. So that's all. Thank you.